Welcome students, this is Ms. Martin, and I have a book that I'd like to recommend to you. This is The Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. I think that this is a book worth reading. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to read you the first page of this book and tell you a little bit about it. I think that Agatha Christie is absolutely wonderful, and you have probably heard her name at some point, even if you haven't read any of her books. She wrote something like 80 or 90 books in all during her lifetime. The majority of those are murder mysteries. She was an English writer and lived in the early 20th century, and her fiction is still very popular today. You'll also find that there are movies that are made after her books, as well as TV shows that are made after her books and after the characters in her books. I chose The Murder on the Orient Express to introduce you to because this one also has a couple of different movies that go with it, and sometimes students like that. Sometimes they want to watch the movie and they want to read the book. So I chose this one because I know that there are a couple of different movies that are based on this book that you might enjoy. Okay? So what I'd like to do here is to read you the first page of The Murder on the Orient Express and see if this is interesting to you, and it might end up being your next book. So this is the first page here. Chapter 1, An Important Passenger on the Taurus Express. It was 5 o'clock in a winter's morning in Syria. Alongside the platform at Aleppo stood the train, grandly designated in railway guides as the Taurus Express. It consisted of a kitchen and dining car, a sleeping car, and 2 local coaches. By the step leading up into the sleeping car stood a young French lieutenant, resplendent in uniform, conversing with a small man muffled up to the ears, of whom nothing was visible but a pink-tipped nose and the 2 points of an upward curled mustache. It was freezingly cold, and this job of saying off a distinguished stranger was not one to be envied by Lieutenant Dubosc. Performed his part manfully. Graceful phrases fell from his lips in polished French. Not that he knew what it was all about. There had been rumors, of course, as there always were in such cases. The general, his general's temper had grown worse and worse, and then there had come this Belgian stranger, all the way from England, it seems. There had been a week of curious tensity, and then certain things had happened. So the story continues on from there. So I will tell you a little bit about it. Yes, there is going to be a murder, and it's also very doubtful that you'll figure out who the murderer is before the end of the book. I didn't. One of the things that I absolutely love about Agatha Christie is that she always tricks me. I can never figure out who the murderer is, but before the end of her murder mystery novels, I always have to kind of keep reading to find out what's going on. She does such a great job of engaging a reader with her stories. She just makes you want to keep reading so you can find out what happens next as you're there turning the pages, wanting to know the next part. So if that sounds interesting to you, grab a copy of Murder on the Orient Express or check out her other books. She has a lot. She has a lot of books. So check out her other books and see if there's another one that you like even better, and see if this might be your next book.